Hi, my name's Lindy Cowling. Welcome to this channel. My website is www.lindycowling.co.uk. My email is info@lindycowling.co.uk. And the title of the video today is Receiving as Fuel for Galactic Consciousness. Receiving as fuel for galactic consciousness. So as you know, this channel is an experiential channel, which means it is based on my own personal and professional experiences, i.e. things that I have been through personally, experienced as a human being personally, experienced as consciousness personally, worked with clients all over the world with these states professionally. So I don't talk about anything that is not something that I have experienced and have processed in my own way or going through a state of embodiment in my own way. Personally or professionally, I've always experienced it. So the reason this video is about receiving as fuel for galactic consciousness is just in the space of a week since I was last on camera. I am sure, like many of you, have been going through intense shifts of energy and what I can only be describing as upgrades in states of consciousness. Which means as of the last week, I have changed significantly, and the work that I'm doing is beginning to change significantly. My state of perception and consciousness is definitely helping the work I do. In that, it has become what I can only describe as galactic. Now I'll get into the receiving as the fuel bit of it all in a minute, but let me start, as I always do, at the top and work my way backwards. Apart from hearing the occasional reference to galactic consciousness, I had not had direct experience of it myself until this last week. So let me explain it in simple terms and in my terms. It is a rate of expansion, a rate of expanded consciousness where you have the awareness of, the simplest way to describe it is the universe not being outside of yourself, the galaxy not being outside of yourself, but that being actually an inner state of consciousness. So that, for example, when I am, not only when I'm working, but when I'm, it's not even now, when I'm tuned in, it's actually all the time, 24/7. Just like you may see a screenshot or a photo or a film or an image of the galaxy and all the stars in it and the planets and how beautiful it looks, and all of that kind of in front of you, what I now have is that awareness of that now being an inner state activated. So what I'm saying is it was always there and it is always there, but it was not activated in the capacity that it has been activated in this week. So it's like seeing the stars, the Milky Way, everything. I'm not just seeing it, but being aware that you are comprised of it and it is comprised of you and it is you and you are it. And it's an infinite state of awareness that is vastly more expanded than previous states of consciousness that I have gone through. The previous states of consciousness that I have gone through are there. Like, for example, I tune in a lot and work a lot within what is called Christ level consciousness. But this is something that is it's more expanded than what I was tuning into before. So What do I mean by that? When I say more expanded than what I was tuning into before, it's slightly different. And that really, the simplest way I can describe it, it's a bit like being off planet but on planet at the same time. So when I say expanded, you really have the perception of all that there is, all that there has been, and all that there ever will be, all in the same second, all in the second of now. And you can feel that. And for me, I can also, how it represents in me, and it's very new because it's only been a week, is when I'm talking about it now, I can actually see it. And the word that keeps coming to me is galaxy all the time. Galaxy, galaxy, galactic, galaxy. And that's how I see it. So when I say all that there is, all that there has been, and all that there ever will be, what I mean is, and I kind of, this has been coming for a while. You don't suddenly launch into these states of consciousness. You kind of go through layer upon layer over month or year in, year out, till you get to a point. And for me, like for example, it's been building for a while, but it really took on its own momentum. And I'm not going to go into the details of how it took on its own momentum, because actually that's very personal to me, this, and very private to me. And I'm not going to share that because that was extraordinary and very amazing, and also very dramatic. But I don't feel it'd be right to share it here and now. Maybe later on, maybe in another video. And when I do, or if I do share it, you'll know why I'm not sharing it now. I have a reason for that, and that's to do with an awareness of something else as well, but this is not the time or place to discuss that, I don't feel. So when it kind of happened, and now this has been, this rate of consciousness has been triggered within me, and this state of perception, it's very strange seeing and feeling everything at once. And a way of simplifying it, again, you know, it's an extraordinary thing, but you kind of, I'm going to put it bluntly, you're aware of people's bullshit in less than a second. So you know exactly where they're coming from, why they're coming from there, what it's about, what state of consciousness they're coming from, if it's coming from them in embodiment, if it's coming from light body, if it's coming from rainbow body, if it's coming from a galactic state of consciousness, if it's coming from plasma body. I hesitated then because I feel that what has happened for me within the last week is linked in with a plasma state and galactic state. The reason I'm not talking about that more is I don't have the awareness of it at the moment, and I won't speculate until I am confident in what I'm saying. And I know the plasma body is tied in with it, but I don't quite get it all yet. And until I get all the pieces of the puzzle, there's no point in me muddying the water. The reason I know this has been building for a few weeks is I've done a lot of healing sessions with people lately. And those healing sessions have been nothing like the healing sessions I've done before. So I'm working with their higher self, which has never happened before, but now I'm working always with their higher self. My team are working with their team, my guide team. And I am viewing from 9th dimensional and then dropping back down. So I'm viewing with some people, we've been doing stuff on the rainbow body. On others, it's been more basic level than that. I've always had the ability to remote view inside bodies anyway. That has been the whole 17 years that I've been doing healing, which means that if I was doing healing on someone and it's not even going into an altered state for me anymore, really. I can go into the body and have a look round if necessary. Some people might call it psychic surgery. I've been able to etherically remove organs via that way for about 15 or 16 years. But this is different to this again. So when I'm doing a healing session on someone, it might be some of that, it might be none of that, it might be helping to reboot light body, rainbow body. Now I'm working on a galactic level. It's when I'm working on them now, when I say working on them, you know, they don't have to be next to me or in the room. They can be via Skype. Doesn't matter where they are in the world. I see them go completely transparent, and I think what I'm seeing, which my nan had the ability to do, I think I'm seeing their meridians actually, but I see different points on their body. They become transparent to me. I can see and feel where work has to be done, what has to be pulled out, what has to be, you know, helped, all sorts of things like that. And the reason I'm bringing this in is I know it's all tied in with a state of consciousness. I know it's been building probably for the last 3 or 4 weeks, but it's gone up and up. And then I had this, just all I can describe as massive upgrade. Extremely uncomfortable upgrade. It wasn't comfortable at all, and very intense, but absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And this is February is an extraordinary month so far. It was strange. 2016, the year of compression. For me personally, that was a year where time stopped. So it felt to me like 50 years worth of human linear time was packed into 1 year. And I never know a year that was as slow as that. Yet everyone around me was saying, oh, it's going so fast. And I never experienced it like that. And actually the time ran very differently to me then. And I know why now. And then I was coming into states of 0.00 field of energy, 0 point energy field. And now this year, I've never known a year so fast. The days are just going so fast. The hours are going so fast. Everything is so fast that I've never experienced anything so fast. And so all this is connected in with it, because the ability to see somebody's light body, really, and also to help put people online according to where they are, and to come out and have a look around ninth dimensionally. When I say come out, I don't come out of my body. How can I explain it? I come out in perception and in consciousness as an automatic thing when I'm working on the healing level, and have a look round and just check. I have to be, in other words, my consciousness has to be in a light body stage of consciousness to upgrade their light body stage of consciousness in a way. So I come out and I come up above in frequency to what we're helping with or assisting with, and then I come back down again. So I mean, that's been phenomenal and very different. But the reason I'm mentioning this is the galactic consciousness, once it's activated within you, if it's activated within you, or once it's activated within you, your whole perception of everything changes. So it affects everything. I mean, of course it would. Absolutely everything. So I'm working in ways now that I could not have dreamed of. I'm using some of the basic skills that I had over 17 years, but they, to me, are just the basic level of skills now. I'm using other techniques. Sometimes I refer back to the basic levels of skills and wind them into a session, but I'm using multiple different, I'm going in at multiple different dimensions really in the course of working now, which is a huge change actually. And it's coming across, it depends what the work requires. In every session with everybody, that's not that case, because it doesn't require that. I need to be in one dimension or two aspects at the same time. In the healing side of the work particularly, a team seems to go across. And what's the fascinating thing for me is, until I was starting to roll over into galactic consciousness, I wasn't automatically seeing people's light bodies and energy bodies the way I am now. And now I don't have to try at that at all. It just happens when it's required to happen. The only thing I require is the person's permission I'm working with. And I explain to them, you know, until we get in session here, I don't know how it's going to go. And it's fascinating to me. One lady I was working on, her chakra system was nothing like her chakra system. I brought out a video which quite a few months ago saying the 15 to 24 chakra system, because I've been for about the past year able to see round about 15 chakras, not 12, 15. And I know there are more that I can't access yet. So I haven't seen them all yet. And we're working on that kind of system. And some people, this particular lady had a very long spiritual practice anyway, kind of a long way down the line of her own consciousness, in other words, quite an evolved soul. And it was nothing to do with the basic chakra colours. It was all rainbow. The chakras were all, well, I say rainbow, they were, though I didn't really count all the colours, more colours than our rainbow, but I'm going to call it rainbow just to illustrate that there are a lot of colours in there. All different colours, chakras, each one was like multiple colours, multicoloured chakras, for example. One lady, somebody else I worked with didn't require any of that. They required something very different, which was kind of some etheric surgery in a way, removing, no, this particular lady had to have part of her bowel etherically removed, and then we put something else back. Another lady didn't have anything like that at all. She wasn't different. Her light body was very different to that, didn't require rainbow chakras. Another person I worked with, it was a case of removing certain things from the energy field, certain objects, if you like, certain thought forms, and putting other things in, fully with their permission as well, to help align them with the appropriate rates of their own consciousness and the appropriate grid of their own consciousness, because everybody's at a different stage of that. So I couldn't, for example, work galactically with someone that isn't at a galactic state of consciousness, for example, and someone else that's rainbow body. You work on the rainbow body. And for me, it's an extraordinary thing. I find it absolutely fascinating. But if you might be one of these people this week that have had an extraordinary week, and when we go through these upgrades, and I've got about three videos in mind. I'm doing the most pressing at the moment. I haven't got on here before now because I've had to go through massive upgrading this week. Probably the biggest upgrade week I've ever had, actually. So I've had to assimilate that. I've been completely dazed by that. In some ways recover from that. Because physically, the physical body doesn't know what the hell's going on, you know, when you feel completely different in your consciousness to how you felt before, and the body gets used to that, and the body kind of like feels that and has to adjust, kind of thing. And so if you are experiencing extraordinary things this week, you know, not looking at things the way you did before, or having an awareness that you never had before, or your perception of the world and perception of yourself is very different before, that is why, because there's a massive, really massive upgrading going on at the moment. There's a lot of stuff happening very quickly at the moment. And so that's what's happening personally for me, and I'm sure it's happening for some of you guys as well. The receiving part of it, the receiving part is fuel, the fuel you need, the fuel you require at this time. So many of us that are active service orientated, we are not very good at receiving. We are not very good at receiving help. We're not very good at receiving anything from anyone. We're used to giving and giving and giving and giving, but we are not used to receiving. And so we have to receive at this time. It's always important in all our lives, but especially now, because you have to have the fuel to propel yourself forward. And if you are constantly giving, you cannot afford to be depleted while all this is going on, these upgrades and states of consciousness. So How you would get into receiving mode, because you have to get into the habit of it, is basically it is making choices that you are getting something back in return. So, for example, being in nature, you are receiving from nature all the time. Nature is a wonderful healer, and natural environments, rivers, moving water particularly, and the sea. Nature is constantly giving back by the nature of its beautiful natural vibration. Things like massage or a nice kind of therapy on you, where you're totally in receiving mode, really being topped up. Doing pleasurable things that you enjoy, where you are getting something non-traumatic, non-dramatic back from it, something very balanced, something very healing. It could be something as simple as listening to music you love, or watching a great movie, or going to the theatre, or spending time with people that are close to your vibration, that can give back as much as you give out. It might be resting extra. It might be taking naps where you never took naps in the day before. You know, these are all simple things. It is getting yourself into the state of mind and the state of heart that you accept that in order to move forward, you must receive. It has to be that balance. You have to allow yourself to receive. And you could even adapt some of the earlier exercises I've done on YouTube, where I've done the one about attuning and attunement to, and the integration, you know, to your own kind of highest timeline. You can even chuck that into the melting pot and build in, like, while you're doing that exercise, you know, I am willing to receive all the gifts that my universe has for me. Now, you're interesting the words I use there, and I'm not the only one to use these words, actually. That is exactly how I feel about it. Since this galactic state of consciousness, I don't look outside any longer at all, and I hadn't been for a while, but I definitely don't now, for the universe. I am actually aware of it being an inner thing now. Somebody whose work resonates with me tremendously, especially over the last year, is Lisa Transcendence Brown, and she talks in those kind of terms too. And I don't share anything that I am not personally experiencing. Even if I totally resonate with it, I have to know it as a reality for myself first. And I totally resonate with that, and that's why I'm choosing those terms too, because when it happens to you, you'll know exactly what I mean. I don't look outside for it. I don't feel it outside. I know it's an inner state. So it's almost like you are the universe, and you're your own versions of the universe according to the ingredients you put into it, and the perception you put into it, and the consciousness you put into it. So you could, for example, receiving, when you're actualizing your own timeline, your highest timeline, you could put in there something like, and I'm so happy that I'm receiving so much support, I'm receiving so much love, I'm receiving so much assistance, I'm receiving so much money, I'm receiving so many job offers, and to get yourself, you know, you have to feel the feeling, the excited childlike feeling of it, but to get yourself into the habit of it in your ordinary practical lives, you're going to have to build in some ordinary practical things that equal receiving to you, receiving compliments, receiving, you know, a lovely meal that someone's cooked for you, or cooking it for yourself and receiving that, being mindful about eating it and receiving it, because it's the fuel to propel you forward into these states of consciousness. And like everything, all these little dots have to add up to make the whole, the unified, the unity consciousness. They all have to add up, all those little dots. And if there's one missing dot, you don't get the complete unified field, and you don't get the complete unified state of consciousness, because there's, in other words, there's something missing. So this is a vital part of it, and it's receiving is also a vital part of creating, because if you have belief systems around receiving and not being good enough to receive, not worthy to receive, people judging you for receiving, for example, all that kind of stuff in there, that is going to come up when you are creating. You know, it's like having one arm and one leg tied behind your back when you're trying to create. If you have that, oh, do I deserve to receive what I really would like to create? Again, it's like shooting yourself in the foot. So it's the in our everyday human lives, it's getting into the habit of factoring things in which mean to us receiving. Very basic things, receiving for ourselves. And we can build upon that to putting it into basic 5 or 10 minutes exercises where we're actualizing our own timeline, creating with that. And these are all little, not little tricks, but little techniques, little tools that will take you ever upward and ever up to those higher expanded states of heart consciousness. All the states of consciousness that I'm talking about here are all via the heart. They're all via the heart, but they are different states of consciousness linked to the heart. And if and as and when you go through them, you'll know exactly what I mean. And that's on that note, I'm going to love you and leave you. I'm keeping this one short because I suspect, I was laying in bed early hours of the morning. Isn't it always the way? A lot of input comes through early hours of the morning. There were about 3 different titles I was going to do. I've kind of, in a way, woven 2 into one here, kind of receiving and the galactic side of consciousness into. I've kind of woven what could have been 2 videos into one here. There's another one I may bring out shortly, so I might be back on camera in a few days. I may not. We'll see how it goes, see if it feels the right thing to do, and see if it feels relevant at that time. It's, as you probably know, it's crazy at the moment. Things are changing so dramatically quickly that, you know, we can hardly keep up with ourselves really while things are moving at this rate. And while they are moving at this rate, and I mean a rate of change of consciousness and perception, we just have to do what we have to do while that's going on. You know, sometimes we're going to have to factor in extra receiving time or extra rest time, extra simple natural time, or, you know, it may not go that way for you, but as you're going through that, you'll know exactly what I mean, and I'm sure many of you are going through that. So on that note, I will love you and leave you. As always, I do appreciate you watching this channel. Thank you for subscribing to this channel. I do hope you are moving without too much stress through this extraordinary time. And look after yourselves. Just look after yourselves till we meet again. Take care. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye. Bye-bye.